We've got Emilio here, head kingpin of Destiny Pro Wrestling. And when I say head kingpin, I got told if I'm talking to this man, I gotta call this man the Don. Emilio, is this true? Is this how you prefer to be known, as the Don of Destiny, or what's going on here?
It's funny because I get that. I get called that a lot, and I'm just a normal guy that just puts a big smile on his face every show that we have that we put on to see all the fans happy and whatnot. So,
Well,
but yes,
just a
I
normal,
am.
just a normal guy in the crazy wrestling world. So I don't know how normal any of us are, really, to be honest.
Yeah, true enough.
Dude, first off, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate this. We got linked up about a month ago, and I basically slid into the DMs and was just like, yo, I want to start talking to indie companies and really see where the knit and grit of the wrestling industry really gets developed. And you were so welcoming, open arms, let me come down to the event over in Oshawa, and I enjoyed so much of that, dude. There were so many surprises, so many great talent. It was a great show. Like, first off, like, how did you feel about that show? Like, that one was kind of the swan song, I guess, going into this new major development that we're going into. We'll talk about later on in the conversation, but like, how did you feel about that?
I felt the show was great. The crowd in Oshawa has been nothing but stellar. Every single show, the audience just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And just seeing the audience in that crazy heat, even though I tried to get a 6.5 foot fan with an air conditioner behind it, the crowd was hot all night, physically and literally.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a great show. And I felt real good that, you know what, this is the way to launch into what we're about to do on the Fight Network. This is what we're about to do to launch into our weekly TV. It felt like a pay-per-view style event, which is what I wanted. The talent, the fans, everyone before the show, tear down after the show, just they put it all out there. They did their best, and I think the final product was incredible.
I thought it was a great show too, man. You made a absolute impression on me, and I had a very busy weekend because I was at like 4 shows that week, and I will let you know, like, I enjoyed that one so much. And the worst part was I didn't even get to see the main event. I had to leave, and I didn't even get to say the main event, which I went back and I watched. I had somebody, I can't remember where I got the link, but I ended up seeing it, and what a main event. And with Destiny, like, Toronto and Southern Ontario, I feel is a sleeper when it comes to professional wrestling. Like, everyone always hypes up Alberta and Winnipeg about having like some of the major guys and the major players and the major names come out of the, the prairies and that kind of thing. But like, I feel Southwestern Ontario is such a sleeper when it comes to pro wrestling because it's so overpopulated. So there's so much going on now. Where's your mind in that? Because I think Southwestern Ontario is developing some of the best independent professional wrestlers and future professional wrestlers out of anywhere else in Canada. And I want to hear how you feel about that.
So my answer will get me, maybe some positive reactions, some heat reaction, the way they like to call it in the biz.
Yep.
But back in the day, when they had the territory system. The reason why there were so many big names that came out from Alberta and whatnot, obviously Stu Hart and the Hart Dungeon, but it was a territory. Canada as itself was a territory. You had Toronto and you had Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
You had 2 territories. There wasn't really a lot of in-betweens. It was like, these are the 2 hubs. These are where the shows are at. They brought in the big name talents to face the top talents in the territory. Nowadays, the reason I feel that Ontario isn't producing the way it should be is because we have too many shows. Everyone's renting a ring and promoting a show. And the wrestlers don't really have to work as hard to get bookings because there's just so much.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying the talent, they don't work hard, but when you can get 3 bookings every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you don't really have to put yourself out there to US-based promotions, to promotions out in Alberta and BC, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Like, you just don't have to because you know that you're going to get booked in Ontario. And I feel that could be a downfall for some of the talent because we have incredible talent here. I mean incredible talent. Now, obviously, we got some wacky rules with talent going to the U.S. to work. It's not as accepted as it is for the Americans to come into Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, just how you're saying you slid into my DMs, I get 50, 60 messages a week from wrestlers all over the world wanting to come to Destiny. Now, I'm sure a lot of other promotions get the same type of messages, but, you know, we're putting ourselves out there through our socials, you know, now with the Fight TV deal that we'll talk about, through our YouTube channel. Like, we're really putting ourselves out there and trying to put on some great matches. And I'm trying to bring in such a plethora of talent that people haven't seen, because there's not really a match in Ontario that I can put together that someone hasn't already seen 10 times over. So I'm always trying to bring in new, fresh talent, load up cars to bring talent up, to really showcase what they can do. And I really wish some of our talent would take it upon themselves to, you know what, this weekend, I'm going to fly, I'm going to look for 4 weeks down the road, find a flight to Vancouver, and I'm going to go help out at those shows.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I can maybe get on the show or get a booking out of it, or at least introduce myself to people.
So with saying that, there's a lot to digest there, but with saying that, where, when you source your talent, like obviously Southern Ontario has a lot of schools. There's obviously some places right on the border, like New York, Michigan, that kind of stuff. You can even look into Ohio and Pennsylvania if you want to go a little further. But where do you specifically enjoy sourcing? Is it particular schools, or is it just the people that really register and really pop with you?
It would be the people who really register and pop and don't give up. Like, there's some people I didn't respond to the first 2-3 times they sent me a message. I shouldn't say I didn't respond, but it was a no at the time. I didn't have any space, but they just kept at it. They kept at it. They kept at it. And, you know, it just so happened that I had a couple spots I had to fill. I looked at their stuff. So the ones I really want to use, I look at their stuff and they're kind of bookmarked to the side. Mm-hmm. And then I'll say, hey, anyone else that can jump in the car? Because flights to Canada are obviously expensive, and it doesn't always make sense. So, you know, they say, yeah. And I say, okay, well, send me 6-7 individuals that you would recommend to come on my show. They do. You know, I usually pick 2, 3, 4 of them to come up with them. And boom, I have a carload that I can introduce to some of the, you know, to a new fan base. And we've had success with that. Like, we brought up Maggie Lee and Heather Reckless. Heather, who just recently signed with TNA right after our show. You know, they put on a phenomenal match, and I'm even calling it the match of the year. And that's from 2 talents that aren't in our area that I watched their tape because they've reached out to me. And lo and behold, we had a great match, and people are still talking about it.
And I'm not going to lie, like, big shout out to Heather Reckless. Like, I have been a fan of Heather for quite some time. I'm going to say just coming out of the pandemic era, like, I watch a lot of indies as is. It's not just WWE, TNA, AEW, all that kind of stuff. I try and diverse myself into everything because, like you said, match of the year, and some of these ones don't even get televised. You can have some of the best matches and they don't even get televised. So this is what I love about the independent scene, because you get a treat every now and again. At least on one card, there's always one banger that you're like, damn, I gotta go back and watch that again.
Yeah, but that whole, like, we did a double shot weekend, and that whole carload that came up from Iowa area, from what is it, Black and Brave, Seth Rollins' school there?
Yes, sir.
Down there. But Solomon Topu, Conan Lycan, the Premier, which is a tag team, Heather, Maggie. Like, that was 6 incredible talent that were able to come up, showcase what they can do. They've already been out to Manitoba a lot. They, you know, they get booked out there. But they got in the car, 14-hour drive to come up and perform. And to me, that shows dedication. That shows that they want it. And look, 1 out of the 6 already signed. I'll guarantee by the end of this year, 2 more of those people that came up are going to be signed.
Now let's talk about, because you mentioned Heather getting signed to TNA, and I was going to hold off on the TNA conversation, but you have an incredible relationship with TNA, like
incredible relationship with TNA talent. Is that
okay? TNA talent. Let's say TNA talent, because you have brought up, like, just in the one show, you had Steve Macklin, you had AJ Francis, you had Ash by Elegance, you had her concierge. His name always escapes me. But Ice, there you go. And then you obviously, not TNA, but you also had Kelly come in and do a signing. Now, where did this like relationship spring from? Because not everyone can say, hey, I can just, you know, call up these major names that are on televised and streamed shows every week.
Yeah, well, one of the things is, again, is reaching out to the talent. You know, Moose was another one as well. And, you know, the story goes, I'm not going to mention names for that show, but I started off, I will tell you, I had booked AJ and Steve Macklin for that show. And then messages started coming. I guess they talked about it at tapings, at TV, and messages start coming. You know, we had Mike Bailey as well. He had just won the X Division title. And the whole thing with Mike Bailey is we haven't been able to get him back to Destiny since he signed his contract in the Destiny ring to go to TNA. For 2 years, I've personally been reaching out to him, and he's always been booked. He's one of the greatest wrestlers, if not the greatest wrestler out there right now. And for that show, again, it was one of those things where I reached out to him. He said, I'll let you know. I didn't hear from him. I didn't want to bother him. So I just figured he was booked. So I had already had my card pretty much finished. And then as soon as I think I'm done, here comes the message. Hey, is that date still available? Because I'm coming up to do a Canada tour. Unfortunately, I was booked, but, you know, we got to talking and things made sense for both of us. And boom, all of a sudden Mike Bailey's on the show. And Moose is on the show. And
they both of them put on incredible matches, which you would always expect from those two talent. And it's funny, just a little tidbit on myself. I've been going to professional wrestling events since I was 5 years old. So I'm 37 tomorrow. And Mike Bailey, funny enough, is the wrestler I have seen most live.
Wow.
Which you wouldn't think, because like I go to so many different types of events, but Mike Bailey always seems to fall on the card. It's just one of those really, really weird scenarios. So like I thoroughly enjoyed watching Mike Bailey work every time I'm there. Wasn't too happy about the defeat of Zilla Fatu the other week, but you know, it is what it is. It's Mike Bailey, right? But let's go back to like working with TNA's talent. Can you dive a little bit into that for us on like how that works? Because TNA talent are still looked at as, you know, like signed under contracts with TNA, but those contracts are interesting because they're almost allowed to work anywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, they you know, everyone, I'm not going to get to their contracts, but everyone is on a different contract. And really, I go to the events. You know, just as, you know, students go and help out at shows, you know, I go to the events. I go to, you know, I talk to the guys. Trent Seven, my champ, you know what I mean? Before him, Steve Macklin was my champion. So I have a relationship with these guys. So when I go, I already know a couple of them. Next thing you know, there's a couple more. I introduce myself. I say hello, you know, and it just kind of snowballs from there. Previous to me taking over Destiny a few years ago, Iceman ran Destiny, and he had a great relationship with TNA. Impact at the time was Scott D'Amore, who now has his Maple Leaf Pro. That's October 19th and 20th in Windsor. It's going to be on Triller, so if anyone's watching, check it out. The card looks friggin' phenomenal.
It looks ridiculous. I can't decide if I want to stream that or if I actually want to go down. Maybe you and I can talk offline and see what we can work out on that. But I can't decide on that one because that card looks ridiculous.
So that's where the relationship started. So it's just been like Destiny had been known to be the place where you would see a lot of the TNA talent. So I just kind of kept up with that. The talent are easy to work with, not saying anyone in the other company, but obviously WWE, they got strict contracts. They're not going anywhere. AEW, I normally run on Saturdays. They have Collision. So there's a lot of conflicting. You know, I once had 3 talent pulled off my show 3 days before the show because they were needed for TV. And not mad at the talent, not even mad at AEW. Like, they're running a business, they're on TV, they got to do certain things. And as a promoter, we need to understand and we need to be able to adapt all the time. Just like at that last show, Moose didn't get to the venue until 20 minutes before his match.
Oh, he wasn't there when before, like when I left.
He wasn't. So he got there. Just tons of delayed flights, like what these guys are willing to do. He was sitting in the tarmac at London, Ontario, waiting for Pearson to reopen so they can fly 15 minutes to get to Pearson.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then we had a driver there pick him up, bring him straight here. He got there. He goes, "How much time do I got?" I go, 15 minutes. He goes, "It takes me 20 just to get ready." I'm like, "You got 15 minutes?" You know, but we adapted backstage. We put a segment out that we want to do during the cage being set up. And we just, you know, you make things work. But the relationship is there. And really the relationship is there with everybody. You have to want it. The same way a wrestler will reach out to Destiny to try to get on my shows and build that relationship is the same way that I reach out to the talents to build a relationship with them.
So let's talk Fight Network, because that's huge, man. Like, first off, congratulations on that, because it's not every day you see just any promotion get brought into the likes of Triller or Fight Network or to a streaming service. You must be doing something right and must have had the right conversations with the right people for that to happen. So first off, I want to say a massive congratulations, and I am looking forward to it's October 6th, right? That's the first TV filming?
First taping. I don't know when this is going to air, but on the September 17th at midnight, we are showing 3 way back matches. Just to lead people into a little bit of the product. And we're just going to kind of walk people along the way of what we've been doing for the last couple of years. Until we go right into our first taping October 6th, which we have the most famous wrestler on the planet, Joe Hendry, coming through.
We'll get into Joe. We'll get into Joe in a second, but like, I want to talk this fight deal, dude. Like, first off, I don't want to get into details on the deal, but like, that's huge, and that's a game changer for especially Southwestern Ontario. Destiny going to be able to move around, film. Are you going to be traveling where you film, or are you going to be filming out of a certain location?
So the goal was to just film out of one location. That was until I woke up one morning and said, "Now we're going to take this damn thing on the road." So right now for 2025, there are different cities that we're going to be going to do our TV tapings, to do our 4 major pay-per-view events a year that we're going to be doing. And yeah, so we are going to be traveling. I've already had a couple cities actually reach out to us that want us in their city and want to figure out how to make that work and you know, facilities and venues and what they can help, you know, facilitate for us to make it easier to get in there and everything like that. And I want to take Destiny on the road. That was my goal when I first bought the company from Iceman. It was to make it bigger, take what he did in 8 years, and just you know, make it go through that glass ceiling. You know what I mean? And we're going, and I've been nonstop ever since.
I think you've broken that glass ceiling, my friend, which I'm really excited for, and I'm looking forward to somehow getting involved once we talk about how I can help and how we can help promote the product through my socials and other creator socials as well. Because let's get into the creative thing for a sec, because we had something happen which I was unaware when I showed up at the venue. You and I had talked, but I've been friends with AJ for several years now, and obviously I got into the creative side of things with Mr. Santizap, but we had a viral moment, and I can say viral.
It was viral.
It went viral of Mr. Now listen, this, I'm gonna say this right now, and you can swear on here too, but this son of a bitch has always been a heel. Just so everybody knows, this man's always been a heel, but everyone's saying this man turned heel with that chair shot to Tyler Turva and help AJ Francis. First off, whose idea was that? Secondly, how did it come about? And third, I'll get to the third after you answer the first 2.
The biggest thing for me watching wrestling growing up was the surprises.
Yeah.
Those things that you didn't expect. The internet has messed that up completely. Just so many things. And I don't know why people want to know everything. Like, I didn't want to know when Roman Reigns was coming back. I don't want to know when someone's been signed to a new company. I like that surprise
of course
factor. I like the pop from the crowd. And, you know, when you're trying to sell tickets, it's really, really hard to do. You want to just get everything out there. You know what I mean? So when I'm doing my shows, I'm getting everything out there. Every once in a while, I'm able to keep something under wraps. With TV, I'm only announcing 3, maybe 4 matches. We're going to do 10 to 12 matches of taping. And I'm only announcing 3 or 4 Now, I will get into that. We are splitting it up and going to be doing multiple shows a month.
Okay.
But the art of the surprise is the most important thing when it comes to professional wrestling, to keep that young fan intrigued and have that awe look on his face. So we worked out during the beginning of the day. We, it's Santi Zepp was sitting there right in the front, right pretty much with you. We called everything real quickly of what we were going to do in the back. And then we just went with it. And, the crowd reaction was great when it happened. But more importantly, that social viral moment that you were talking about. 1 million views in 24 hours.
Yep.
Like, that is absolutely incredible. It's something that we all strive for, whether, you're someone who's doing a podcast, streaming, has a huge social following, a company trying to get out there for more people to see. And listen, we got over 400 new followers just on Instagram alone.
Boom.
So again, it's the element of surprise to give the fans something that they didn't expect to happen. If we go to later in that night, I know I'm jumping ahead, but when Tarek's music hit, the place also erupted in the main event.
Yep.
The place went crazy. Everyone was like, oh my God, here's the cash in. Both men were down. This is the perfect time. He gets to the cage. He smacks Trent, in the head with the cage door. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes AJ Francis to stop it from happening.
Typical AJ. Always ruining a good thing. No,
always ruining a good thing. And then here we are coming up October 6th.
Yep.
Tarek's out for revenge against AJ.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, man. I can't wait to be sitting front row for that as well, because that's gonna be, like I said, I've known AJ for a while, and I know AJ outside of wrestling, and I definitely know AJ inside of wrestling. So this is gonna be something special.
He's famous as shit. That's all I gotta say. That man knows everybody.
I think we had a moment. It was you, me, Santi, and AJ all standing backstage following that, and you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna put you three right in front of a camera and just see how many follows I can get. And that was cool, because going into like the utilization of the surprise, and obviously Santi jumping in and just blowing everything up, a lot of businesses and companies are tending to jump on this trend now of utilizing the creators. The creators that are making a lot of noise for the business, where that noise wasn't being generated 3-4 years ago. Like, these are, and obviously it started with WWE utilizing the creators for the CM Punk return and the WrestleMania doc, but then you saw TNA utilizing BDE, and then obviously Destiny jumping on with utilizing Santi's app and all these other things. Do you think this is a good thing for business, utilizing outside sources that have never really come up in the companies? It's just more of people that have learned on the fly.
If done correctly, 100%. And it's the vision of what the promoter, let's just say in this case, really wants. When I first took over Destiny, I looked at the socials and they were weak.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at YouTube. Nothing was being monetized. And we had a couple of videos with 72,000 views.
Mm-hmm.
So my focus was, how do I get more people? Well, when I was booking talent, I was looking for different talent that had a huge following.
Yeah.
So that when the flyer went out with their name on it and they shared it, I started gaining followers from all that. When we posted matches up on YouTube, more people started, as I was posting them, these people were sharing, and you get more subscribers onto YouTube, which, I mean, people know it doesn't cost a thing to go like and subscribe on YouTube, but It helps us out. It helps us content creators out dramatically. And, I posted a match of Moose versus Ryback from 2017. And normally when I post a video, I wake up the next day to see 97 views, 212 views, and I'm like, what do I gotta do to make this go viral?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I woke up the next morning, I saw 36, and I was like, 36, that's it? And then after my shower and everything like that, and I get all ready to go, and I'm going to the office, I'm wondering, how only 36? And then when I looked, it was 36K.
Yeah.
So we had got 36,000 views overnight.
Yeah.
Well, 6 weeks later, we hit 1 million views. And, now a lot of our, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't just 1 million views. It was 1 million views and 4,500 new subscribers.
Yep.
So now as stuff's going up on our YouTube channel, we're doing it more consistently. We're getting more views, we're getting more followers. And, you know, for the creators, I never hide anything. You know, there is some monetization behind it that helps us out and allows us to create even more.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it really helps. And I always tell people, oh, well, what do you do with the money and stuff like that? I said, well, everyone does it for something different. For me, it allows me to book a bigger talent.
Yeah.
For a content creator, helps you get a better microphone, helps you get better lighting. It helps you, it helps you pay to buy a ticket to go to different events and shows.
Yep.
To create that content. So I think if people really understand it and they know how to utilize it properly, hence our conversations, I think it's beneficial for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because the content creator gets more content. And then myself being a wrestling promotion, I get more eyes on my product,
yes.
which could then turn into ticket sales, more YouTube views, more social views. Like it makes it bigger and bigger and bigger.
No, and that's amazing because not a lot of people have that vision. And I'm not going to say any certain company, but there is one that tends to strive away from the creators. And I think in my mind, it's a detriment because the creators are the ones helping get the 100 million views on one certain aspect of things. You know what I mean? And some companies are doing it well. Some companies are not doing it so well. So the fact that you jumped on that and did it in such, I thought it was perfect. Because for me, 2 of my friends were involved and I found out as it was happening and I'm like, what is going on here? Like there's actually, if you go back and look at the clip from your camera, I'm literally like, and then Santi just backs away and sleazes his way down the ramp. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? So you guys did it fantastic. And that's why a lot of people say kayfabe's dead. If it's done right, kayfabe is done right and you can get away with it. Another example is like Jacob Fatu debuting in WWE. Everybody knew he was signed.
Yep. But
it was when, and everyone's like, he'll debut on a PLE. Nope. Random episode of SmackDown.
Yeah.
And nobody knew. Nobody knew. It was great. So, but no, you mentioned someone earlier, and we have to talk about this because I hate myself because I really wish I heard the pop in the venue. I left. I had to leave. Mr. Say his name and he shall appear. Joe Hendry, literally the most viral wrestler of 2024 will be ever. You know what? You're not wrong. Ever will be appearing in Destiny Pro Wrestling on October 6th. Yeah. How's this conversation come up? What's the plan? Can you give us some insights? I've been on one video call with Joe before and he's an amazing person to talk to. How did this all come about?
So months ago, I was sitting there and I was talking to my inner circle and I was like, man, this Joe Hendry thing is really catching on.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, what do you mean? I said, his entrance, like he's all entrance. I wasn't into his matches at the time. It was just the entrance that caught me.
Yeah.
I'm very 80s WWE where characters were a big thing.
Yep.
Whether they were good or bad characters. And I just saw it and I was like, this is money. This is money. And then he started getting a little bit of steam. And I was like, kind of corny, man, but this is money. I need to get this here.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And then I finally said, you know what? I got to make it happen. Just as I'm about to want to make it happen, boom, there he is. Battle Royal NXT on a Tuesday night. And I was like, well, shit just got expensive.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, but I want it now. So this is what I need. And what a way to kick off our very first set of tapings to have the most viral wrestler, one of the very top TNA wrestlers right now, be on the Fight Network, which is part of the whole TNA Anthem Sports umbrella.
Yep.
What he's going to be doing, you're going to have to tune in to find out. But he's ready. I can tell you he's going to be doing a meet and greet. And I can tell you he's going to have a line longer than you can possibly imagine. But yeah, he's a great guy. The one thing I like about Joe, and the one thing I want to bring him in for a seminar, not to teach people to wrestle, but to teach people how to believe in yourself and your character. because he has done something that some people may have poked fun at, that some people took a second look and said, "Oh, that's kind of cool. I wonder if that will ever catch on." And he bet on himself for everything.
Yes.
You know, getting the two signs when the WWE was there for Clash at the Castle, right outside the venue, his face was there. You know, he bet on himself, and it worked.
No, and again, like you said, you corrected me saying the most viral wrestler ever. It's and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. Like people, like I don't know if you've ever jumped in my Twitch stream, but I've got like a little emote that bounces around my screen of Joe Hendry every time people use it, and like we start the show off with his music. Other people have his image just tweeted everywhere. He's everywhere. He's, you know, TNA, NXT, whatever this conglomeration that they have going on that we still haven't really been told what's going on with that, but like he's just everywhere. And more Joe Hendry at this point I think is better with how it's going. And like to obviously get the rub from CVV and Drew McIntyre in that interview, I don't know if you saw it, but for Drew McIntyre, who's known Joe Hendry for many years, to give him that big of a rub saying like, this is nothing new. This is Joe that I've known. He's now just perfected everything. To get that type of rub, it just shows how good Joe's doing in what he's doing.
Yeah. And to show the type of character that the guy has, he could have easily sat back while he was getting on NXT and being pushed up the card in TNA and done nothing. But he didn't. He went to Orlando to stay. He trained at the Performance Center every day. He was training at Natty and TJ's place at nighttime. Like he was there to work. He was there to get better. And he didn't want to let this opportunity get wasted.
And he's sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. He kind of is giving me for TNA and NXT that 18 months that we saw of Dom coming out of the first Clash at the Castle, where Dom was just Ray's son and he was just kind of doing the tag team stuff. But the evolution of Dom, his character, his in-ring ability, all that in that 18 months, it's kind of like bordered on what Joe Hendry's doing now. And it's so good.
It's incredible. So, you know, it's exciting. You know, and things just strike at the right time. You know, we booked the match, Hammerstone versus Trent Seven. Who shows up Tuesday on NXT? Hammerstone.
That was huge too. That was huge too.
You know, it's just working and watching these guys and seeing who wants it and who's just got it and really trying to, you know, bring it in and help them. You know, we help them elevate what they're doing in front of different fans. And they help build our brand to make it stronger and, you know, to say, wow, look, this is one of the companies you want to watch.
Absolutely. Okay, one of the last things I want to get into. I want to get into pro wrestling fans. Because there's two avenues of this conversation, and I want to keep it on the positive side. A lot of people have been seeing a lot of international crowds, a lot of the Canadian crowds, a lot of like the South American crowds really get shown, and the European crowds in their entirety, like how crazy they are. Toronto, for me, is easily one of the best pro wrestling crowds on the planet. Like, Europe's different because they're deprived of the major labels, but it's always, anytime they go, it doesn't matter if you go to like snooker, darts, soccer, rugby, cricket, it's always a rowdy time in Europe. But in North America, it feels like there's two crowds that really always stand out, and that's Montreal and Toronto. And how do you feel when you get crowds of 200, 300, 400, 500 moving into, when you go to the Fight Network? I'm sure we're going to be booking some larger venues as well. Does it get you like super excited knowing how hot the crowd's going to be just because we're in that mecca of pro wrestling for like Canada, I guess?
100%. If I were to pick one, like our fans are so passionate about everything. The one thing I wish the fans would do more of, though, is enjoy the show. It's like, oh, I don't like this person, or I don't like that person, or I've seen that person wrestle last week. It's like, who cares? You know, you're spending your hard-earned money. Come to the show, enjoy it. Scream, cheer for the guys that you like, boo the guys that you don't, and just come and enjoy and just soak it all in. And the best thing about these indie shows is I went to a Demand Lucha show when, again, with a surprise. We show up with Trent Seven, puts the Destiny title on the line in a Demand Lucha ring. It never would have happened 2.5 years ago. But the reaction from all the fans was crazy, and they don't have wrestling fans. They have a night out because they run on Thursdays. Their crowd is like a hipster type crowd.
Yeah,
they come out. The wrestling fans knew who Trent was when he came out, so they start cheering and wondering what the fuck.
Yeah,
which gets everyone else start cheering and everything like that. And Trent's a showman. There's a reason why he's Destiny champion, and it's just, the crowd just got into it. They were there to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
And I get, even my inboxes get flooded with people giving me their ideas and takes on certain wrestlers and everything like that. And my answer to them is always, I say, no matter where you spend your money, enjoy the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you don't enjoy the show, spend your money somewhere else.
Yes.
Because I have had a lot of people say, "Oh, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's not going to work," since I took over. And I was like, "Okay, fine." They're like, "Yeah, well, I'm telling you so you don't do it." I said, "No, I want to learn the mistake myself."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you just have to enjoy the show.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what show you're at. Enjoy it. Enjoy the talent that's out there, putting their body on the line to make you scream or to give you just that feeling.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Toronto fans, we do have it, but there's just a couple, this is those couple that just can't enjoy the show unless it's what they deem to be good or bad.
It's kind of funny because as a wrestling creator, I'm watching wrestling 7 days a week. It doesn't matter what show it is. And I always tell my stream, I'm trying to interact with you guys and give you guys the best entertainment from my end of things, that I don't get to watch the show. I react to the spots and the best parts, but I actually have to, when this is all said and done, like as of the recording of the video, Monday Night Raw is in an hour and 26 minutes. I will watch Monday Night Raw with my fans, and then I will go and watch Monday Night Raw again. So I can get the show in and enjoy the show myself. So I understand completely what you're talking about, because it's almost like we go back to how we started this conversation. The internet has completely ruined the pro wrestling side of things, because people want to, one, give their opinions. Everyone's a critic. Everyone knows best when it comes to professional wrestling. And it's like, where's the fun of how we used to watch it in the 90s of, who's the guy under the cloak? Oh, it's Vince McMahon, damn it. Or, is what's Stone Cold gonna drive into the arena today? There's so many aspects that we had no idea. And now it's like everyone's a critic. So
and everybody wants to know what's going to happen before it actually happens.
Exactly. So another reason to love the indies, because it's not as put out there. A lot of people aren't getting it ruined for them. And again, going into the Destiny show, like, it was my first Destiny event. And like, I am frequent GCW. I frequent GCW anytime it's close. Like, I was in Rochester yesterday. And I just go there because I love deathmatch wrestling. I think deathmatch wrestling is just something different that we didn't really get growing up on television. We had ECW, but it wasn't as out there as the other brands. So I just love, that's why I love the indies, and that's why I want to stick to these kind of conversations, because I think there needs to be more eyes on the indie promotions and the work that they're doing, because you're missing a lot of great professional wrestling.
Yeah, and October 6th, you're going to see something that not a lot of people would expect to see. I can tell you that much. Well,
you and I, once we get offline, we are going to talk about October 6th and see how that event's going to go. But Emilio, go ahead.
When's this going to air?
Probably at the end of this week.
Well, it's going to be out there, but in case anyone who doesn't see the post, appearing November 3rd at our second TV taping will be WWE Hall of Famer and current contracted WWE talent JBL.
Shut up. Yo,
yes, sir.
I'm going to try and get this up as quick as I can if I can get it be the first one to announce it, but let's go. Applause, Emilio. Let's go. JBL, let's go, is going to be a Destiny November. Sorry, you said November 4th?
November 3rd.
November 3rd. That is very intriguing. It's almost like, who else could be involved on this now?
The best thing is you just don't know. And I got to be honest with you, JBL might be the only announcement I make for that show.
Hell yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to get, I might just have that clipped and throw that up tonight. We'll see what happens. I'll throw it up tomorrow. I'll throw it up tomorrow.
You got to wait till tomorrow after 7 o'clock.
Tomorrow after 7, I will have it at 7:01 over on my TikTok. 200 some odd thousand people on that side. So we'll make sure we get that thrown up and have a couple of people share it as well. But nice. Emilio, this is your time to promote what you need to promote. Tell us where to go follow. Tell us where we need to be watching Destiny, and tell us what Destiny is going to be doing in the long run in a short little snippet.
Real quick, guys, Instagram, Destiny World Wrestling. On X, we are at Destiny Wrestle. Destiny World Wrestling on Facebook. We're all over the place on our socials. I got a TikTok. Don't know how to use it. Just learning. If you want to come and you just want to be entertained and you want to shut out the outside world, just come to one of the shows. Get yourself just a general admission ticket. Come and enjoy. You know, we got pizza, hot dogs, we got beer, we got pop, we got all that other stuff to make you feel like you're at home and be comfortable. But just come see what these men and women do in the ring to entertain you.
Absolutely.
You don't ever have to watch wrestling. You don't have to know what WWE or AEW or any of the politics. Just show up and be entertained for 2.5 hours, and then see if you decide you want to spend your money to come back again another day.
And what we'll do is we'll make sure we have a link to the next show in the bottom of this video, so people can click on there and make sure they can get their tickets through that as well.
Yeah, you can go to destinywrestling.ca to get your tickets, or revelry.ca/event/haywire. Too confusing.
We'll have it all down there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's the best place to get the tickets.
All right, man. Emilio, thank you so much for taking this time out. I want to be able to chat with you again. Maybe we can freaking work something out and like promote the Fight Network stuff every month, maybe on the channel, and we'll figure something out from there. But Emilio, thank you so much for jumping on here. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you October 6th.
All right, brother. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, man.